Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Nice to see all of you here this morning. A little journey from your residence. Thank you for coming. Uh-oh. I've been attempting, getting there, to complete covering all the verses from Canto 3, Canto 1, Canto 2. So, this section we'll be reading from this morning is Canto 3, Chapter 12, entitled Creation of the Kumaras and Others. And we'll go from verses 48 to the end of the chapter, 57. I think that's the number. And for those of you that are not so familiar with how this canto is laid out, Canto 3 begins, first chapter is Vidura's pilgrimage after he was insulted, because the chapter begins, the whole canto begins with the sages headed by Shaunaka saying, you narrated before that Vidura went on pilgrimage after he was insulted by Duryodhana, and he heard from great sages, and especially he heard from Maitreya. Could you give some details, please? Where did he go and what did he hear from Maitreya? I'm sure it was a fantastic conversation because Vidura's way up there and Maitreya's way up there, and so you got a recording of that? What did they say? What was the dialogue? So Shaunaka Sutta says, sure, I'll tell you. Describes the pilgrimage and describes before Vidura's discussion with Maitreya how he got to that place. He was on pilgrimage. He went to Prabhas Kshetra, which is near Dwarka, where Krishna departed. And it was after Krishna departed, so he knew that Krishna departed. And then he went further and further. He went to a place where Uddhava, after Krishna's departure, was following what Krishna told him to do, which was to go to the place of the Narayan Rishi followers and take their association and share with them what you've heard from Uddhava Gita. So he was being sustained by that instruction of Krishna. And lo and behold, while Vidura was continuing his pilgrimage in a forest of Vrindavan, Uddhava, Haribo, what are you doing here? How nice to see you. And then he started asking all these things about Krishna, because you see Uddhava, you think of Krishna. And Krishna, although he knew that they had already departed, he didn't disclose it. He just asked. And then after asking, Uddhava went into a swoon of intense feelings. Just hearing Krishna's name and feeling separation from Krishna, and a couple of chapters of Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. And then literally similar to Brihad Bhagavatamrita, Vedanta Madhava Lita Madhava, Krishna in Vrindavan, Krishna leaving Vrindavan, Krishna's pastimes. So it's a chronological narration of Krishna's pastimes, because this is Kathiyantas Chamam Nityam Tushyanti Charam. This is what devotees do. Devotees like Uddhava. So, when this narration was concluded, Uddhava said, I have to go now, because this went on all night long. Early morning, I have to go now. Krishna gave me some service. But Krishna said, just before he left, soon you're going to meet Vidura. Just before Krishna departed this world, he remembered Vidura. So tell Vidura to go take instruction from Maitreya. And Uddhava got up and left. And say, you'll find Maitreya over that way. So, intense feelings. This is when you're attached to Krishna, get ready, because there's intense feelings. Intense feelings both of sorrow, because Krishna's departed, he's not going to see him again, and affection, because just before Krishna left, he thought of me. I feel so connected to Krishna, even he's departed. So these two opposite feelings. And off he went to find Maitreya. He found Maitreya. There's this wonderful exchange between the two. They're both exalted souls, but Maitreya had become a perfected soul from hearing from Krishna. And Vidura is going to become a perfected soul by hearing from one who heard from Krishna. So there's this mutual, not backpatting, just genuine appreciation for one another's qualification, and Vidura submits a number of questions, and that leading part of the question of all things to ask, he asks about creation. Now if you had a chance to meet Maitreya, and you can ask anything at all, so what are you going to ask about? Like, go to the Bhagavatam, I want to read about creation, and all the details and complicated thises and that's. So, why did he ask that? He could have asked, tell me about Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan. He could have just gone right there. But he didn't. And it's not that he didn't know the information. He is a highly elevated, learned personality. He's Yamaraj. He's one of the 12 Mahajans. Yamaraj is one of the 12 Mahajans. He certainly knows. But he wanted to hear more than information. He wanted to hear what we should be wanting to hear. The mood of devotion from one who knows the information. That's what he wanted to hear. He wanted to connect with Krishna, because very important, not minor, it's major important, to understand the world around us in relation to Krishna will help us remember Krishna without all the details. There's several places in Bhagavad Gita, there's several places in the Bhagavatam. It's the first thing that Shukadeva Goswami speaks about in Canto 2, is the universal form, and how to see God within the world around us. Or, I like Sadaputta's way of putting this, the way we view the world has a significant impact on how we view ourselves. Cool. The way we view the world has a significant impact on how we view ourselves. So if we don't think negatively, if we don't understand the world around us, we're going to be in La La Land. We're going to be identifying with the temporary and not really understanding who we are. If we don't understand the temporary's connection with the source of the temporary. So then if you just think, okay, notionally, everything comes from God, I got it. But we don't live that way. God's property. We don't live that way. So the Bhagavatam lays out in the third canto details and details enough to make your head spin. Details and details of the process of what Vishnu does, because these are 2 of the 10 topics of the Bhagavatam. Sarga, what Vishnu does for creation, and Visarga, what Brahma does to assist Vishnu in creation. So the Sarga and Visarga are described in mind-spinning detail. And then this section that we're reading here in chapter 12 is, after creation, you've got to fill up the place. It's not just, house. It's, people living in the house. So, like developers, they don't have to worry about who's going to fill up the house. They just build the house. And they get the materials from where they get the materials from. They get their education, how to do it from, etc., etc. But Brahma's got to do much more than that. He's got to fill it up. The whole universe. So he starts filling it up. But before filling it up, there's elements of how to support the living entities, especially the human form of life, how to restore Krishna consciousness, how to restore original consciousness, because going way back to the process of creation, that's one of the principal motivations or contemplations, icha, desires of Vishnu, is to provide a situation where conditioned souls can become freed from their conditioning. So you have to have some resources for that. You're not just going to stumble on it, or I want to get out of here, it's crazy. It's not, it doesn't work like that. There's descending knowledge, so he manifests all this, many, 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 many things. And I'm just going to read text 47, that's the previous text, before we start with 48. Brahma's soul was manifested as the touch alphabets. His body as the vowels. This is now the Vedas, the Shabda Brahman. His body as the vowels. His senses as the syllabant alphabets. Because I don't know so much about Sanskrit technical things, but these are different parts of Sanskrit. His strength as their intermediate alphabets, and his sensual activities as the 7 notes of music. Now these are parts of the Vedas that within, without going into it, grammar, those who teach, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nimai Pandit, taught grammar, and also Nyaya. That's just parts of the Vedas. And I've just been listening to Prabhupada describe the study of the Vedas in this age of Kali. It's not possible because people don't have the qualification, but in previous times, the study of the Vedas, before you could even study the Vedas, you needed all of this rigorous training, and then Upanayana, that initiation into the Gayatri mantra, before you could even begin studying. So only Brahmanas during Vedic times had that training. Kshatriyas, not the same rigor. they were expected to know the Vedas, but they would hear from the Brahmanas. The Brahmanas knew all these rules, and that's just through intellectual acumen, access to meaning of the Vedas. We're going to hear shortly about those that are following the path of Gyan. Generally, the highest position they can reach is impersonal Brahman. And generally, they're interested in impersonal Brahman. That's hot air. They're interested in the pride and prestige of being learned persons, and then they interpret the Vedas in any way they choose. That's the modern degradation. But the qualified Brahmanas, so all these things that Brahma is manifesting, like those of you there's some devotees that study classical music, how to perform vocal and keyboard and all this stuff is what you have to learn. But what's the purpose of all this stuff? What's the purpose of anything that's in the Vedas? What's the purpose of the Vedas? To know Krishna. So these are resources that Brahma is manifesting to help living entities that he's going to fill up the universe with, at least the human species, the Aryans, those who know the higher purpose of life. These are resources to help them. You have an interest in this and that and the other thing, and here's how it'll take you to Krishna. Then text 48. Brahma is the personal representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the source of transcendental sound, and is therefore above the conception of manifested and unmanifested. Brahma is the complete form of the absolute truth, representative, and is invested with multifarious energies. Shrishti Shakti, he is a Shaktivesh avatar and a Guna avatar, both. Purport. The post of Brahma is the highest responsible post within the universe and is offered to the most perfect personality of the universe. Sometimes the Supreme Personality of Godhead has to become Brahma when there is no suitable living entity to occupy the post. In the material world, Brahma is the complete representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and transcendental sound, pranava, comes from him. He is therefore invested with multifarious energies from which all the demigods, like Indra, Chandra, and Varuna, are manifested. Note, some of these personalities, they're the sons of Kashyapa and Aditi. But Kashyapa and Aditi, they're instruments of Lord Brahma, who's an instrument of Vishnu. So here he's getting the credit for being the source of them. His transcendental value is not to be minimized, even though he exhibited a tendency to enjoy his own daughter. That's previously discussed. There is a purpose for the exhibition of such a tendency by Brahma, and he is not to be condemned like an ordinary living entity. I'm going to read the next verse and purport, and we'll go to Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur. Thereafter, Brahma accepted another body in which sex life was not forbidden, and thus he engaged himself in the matter of further creation. Purport. In his former body, which was transcendental, affection for sex life was forbidden, and Brahma therefore had to accept another body to allow himself to be connected with sex. He thus engaged himself in the matter of creation, his former body transformed into fog, as previously described. A little complicated. In this chapter 12, in the early stages of creation, one of the entities produced, not with the assistance of Saraswati, his wife, but just from the body of Brahma, came Vak. Vak means the power of speech. And Vak, like the Vedas, is feminine. So it was his daughter, and Brahma became attracted to his daughter. That's not so good. It's worse than not so good. But he was attracted to his daughter, and he started pursuing his daughter in the wrong way. And he had some other sons, and one of those sons was laughing at him. And he had some consequence for laughing at Brahma. Brahma checked himself. He gave up that body became fog. And now we're hearing, it's not like chronological sequence of events, but he's now accepting another body that didn't have that restriction. And Prabhupada's explanation, very succinct, is he's not an ordinary living entity. And there was a purpose in his doing what he did. Not like, hey, I think I'll go chase my daughter, that's a good purpose. But some purpose of the personality of Godhead, because Brahma is such a qualified person. If there isn't such a qualified person, we hear interesting language here, complete manifestation of the personality, the absolute truth. So, but the instrument is wielded by the hand of the person moving the instrument. So Brahma did what he did. The explanation of why isn't given, but like Arjuna became bewildered and threw down his bow and Krishna, I shall not fight, and my body is trembling. So that illusion of Arjuna is not like ours. It's purposeful. So, apichet sudaracharo, bhajate mam ananyabam, sadhu eva samantavya. This important verse. Arjuna's bewilderment and Brahma's bewilderment are purposeful, and one should not think of Brahma as an ordinary person. I heard a recording of one morning walk conversation. Prabhupada was being asked by a disciple, I don't recognize the voice, Prabhupada, why did Brahma chase his daughter, and he stole Krishna's calves and cowherd boys, and we're supposed to look up to him as the head of our sampradaya, and Prabhupada, how do we process this? And he was angry. The tone was a tone of anger. And he said, he's pure enough. He didn't say too much. He's pure enough. He's a little bit, I don't know the circumstance, I don't know the person, I don't know anything about why Prabhupada responded that way instead of how he's doing here. You can give an explanation. There's a purpose for his doing both of those things, to instruct us. That's what a complete manifestation of the absolute truth, serving as an instrument of the Supreme Lord, would do, whatever he wants. It's not an ordinary And we shouldn't liken ourselves, well, my attraction for my daughter it's okay because Brahma did it. The methods of cheating are many, but our regard for Brahma should be as stated here. A couple of details. One is Tamal Krishna Maharaj was very Tamal Krishna Maharaj-ish in his absorption in anything he did. So one of the things he did is he became very interested in Brahma Samhita, and he made an yet unpublished, expanded commentary on Brahma Samhita. Each one of the prayers, the prayers? No, the whole text. Can't remember. But when it comes to Brahma, boy, did he research. It's not just these two options, A or B. Brahma is the superlative, in one place Prabhupada says, perfect execution of Varnashram Dharma for 100 lifetimes. Try to live an hour. Or a day, or a year. 100 lifetimes. Flawless execution of Varnashram duties. Another is, if there isn't such a qualified person, Krishna comes himself. And I can't remember all of them right now. One of them is, one may become Brahma in the next life. Not ready to go back to Godhead or any other thing, he may become Brahma again. To be the qualified person to be Brahma. Anyway, there's scriptural references to cite each of these. So there's different cycles of yugas, and there's different lifetimes of Brahma. There are different Brahmas, there are different universes, so there are many, many, many options. Something like 6 or 7. But that's Tamal Krishna Maharaj, deeply researched, and common to keep things simple for the audience of the world, because that's who Prabhupada is addressing, these two positions. Krishna himself, how often? I've never heard how often. Because Brahma's a really responsible post. Really qualified person. So, main thing is we shouldn't think of him as ordinary. That's the main thing. And he went on for the purpose of creation. That's what the concluding section of the chapter says. Let's go to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary for text 48. This verse shows that Brahma has extraordinary powers as a manifestation of the Lord. His body is composed of the Vedas. Shabda Brahma. The Supreme Lord, Para, appears as the worshipable object in the form of Brahma, whose body is the Vedas. Manifested as external sound, Vaikhadi, and the unmanifested sound, Om. That Lord is also manifested as Brahman, the object of impersonal Gyan, and as Bhagavan, the object of pure personal knowledge, filled with many Shaktis. Since Brahma is none different from the Lord, it is understood that he has not been contaminated by approaching his daughter. And then text 49, which we also read. Vishwanath, giving up his previous body, which became mist, and darkness after desiring Vak, Brahma accepted another body without pollution of forbidden acts of lust. This Shabda Brahma body remained with Brahma at all times. No explanation. So don't ask me what it means. He's in, and his body is the body of Shabda Brahma, and so he manifests things. He has received those things, and he's just manifesting those things because he's got an important service to do. The intelligent design folks speak about the information content within RNA and DNA strands. And they quote Bill Gates saying there's more information in these RNA DNA strands than any information you can store in a computer. The technology is unknown. And to produce the computers, we need like a big number of smart people to produce the ability to store information in our computers. So inductively, whoever produced those RNA and DNA strands has got a big intelligence. So genetic engineering is tweak this and that and da-da-da-da-da. But where did the original intelligence to produce a strand come from? If it takes scientists to tweak through genetic engineering and do this and that and whatever they're going to do. Make better corn because you get genetically modified corn better than the ones that Brahma created. Or whatever they're up to. But giving credit where credit is due, the intelligence that Brahma has is in anything you can think of, without exception. He knows it. He knows how to bring it to being, he knows how to keep it going, he knows, he's super professor. But not just information capacity, but he's pure. 100 lifetimes of flawless execution of varnashram duties. He's perfectly pure. And incredibly qualified. So when Prabhupada would make challenges, because he had that conviction, when he would make challenges to the scientists, it was, the foundation of it was rooted in knowledge of the Vedas. He didn't have to be. He said, I don't have to become a scientist to challenge the scientists. He wanted his scientist disciples to challenge the scientists in the language of the scientists, but rooted in knowledge of the Vedas. Like life comes from life, and so you can't create life. In so many examples. Just calling the scientists fools, like children. Big Bang. Chunk explodes. Now you have existence. And then existence evolves, chemical evolution. Then so he would, anyway. Several times in recorded conversations, lectures, Prabhupada would give credit to Darwin and then give discredit to Darwin. He said the idea of evolution is right in Padma Purana, and he would recite the verse. But it's not that life evolves from chemicals. You know, that's his speculation. And life doesn't evolve from chemicals. And the first created being is not, you know, some amino acids get together and have a party and create a one-cell, you know, entity. And then from that comes evolution. The first created being is Brahma. And he does the rest. Doesn't it make sense? And you know, the other doesn't make sense. Nor is there any evidence. It's just the speculation. So, credit to Darwin. He stole some information from Padma Purana and gave himself credit for it. But then the other part, discredit, because anyway. Prabhupada quotes that Darwin, in some conversation with another scientist, said, the chemical evolution aspect is my speculation. With the declaration that as science becomes more evolved, we'll understand it's true. But now it's just making an assertion. It's a nice topic. Microevolution. One devotee, I'm going to end with this. We'll cover the other remaining verses another time. One devotee I know is his field is microbiology. So in his PhD stage, he had to do graduate teaching assistant, and he had to teach evolution, or the fact that you can create bacteria in a petri dish, and then you can introduce something, and then the antidote for the bacteria evolves. It's not there, it just evolves. So microevolution. You with me? You know, in the course of one semester, it happens. You can demonstrate. So, you know, wanted to know what should we do. So we're not speaking against microevolution, but complexity of life doesn't come about through through evolution, chemical evolution. You know, you have to teach what the curriculum tells you to teach. But you don't have to go the next step and say, and therefore life is evolution, chemical evolution. I don't know if you've ever had discussion with people that believe in evolution. It's like an uncomfortable conversation. You know, they say, there's evidence. But the evidence is the microevolution evidence, not evidence that life evolved from chemicals. Once there's life, there's the bacteria, that's life. And if the bacterial life can develop antibacterial capacities that didn't have before. Some bacteria get killed off and some survive. Survival of the fittest, right? So it's a modification, So there, it's proved. It's not proved by microevolution. Anyway, not so long ago, at a university, it was in Singapore, that gave a presentation of meditation. And afterwards, kindly the person didn't bring this up during the group discussion, but he came up afterwards and said, I'm a PhD, an Indian fellow, I'm a PhD in artificial intelligence. And I have a question for you. Is intelligence the same as the soul? So having some idea of where he was coming from, I said, well, intelligence is an instrument and the soul is the driver. And so through artificial intelligence, you can replicate what souls may do. But without the soul, the intelligence can't do anything. It's the animating force. This was this example of the soul is conscious and consciousness. So his thing was intelligence is consciousness. Are they not the same? And I said they're not the same. Consciousness guides or energizes intelligence, and without consciousness you don't have anything. It's the basis and support of everything. And, he made a couple of arguments and then, left. Unhappy. Because I was supposed to say, artificial intelligence is the same as consciousness, so we just eliminated the idea that the notion, false notion that there's a soul. There's an Indian fellow, and he was there attending, a Bhakti Yoga Club gathering, but he had this other mindset. It's his life is dedicated, to going down a dark alley. Getting paid to make robots that have artificial intelligence principles operating. No problem. But it's not consciousness without an operator of the robot. You can make a science fiction, 2001 or whatever that computer is, HAL or something.
Yeah.
It's just like he's a person. He's not a person. Without the person behind, because you can dismantle HAL and, then you have a person dismantle him as much as the person who creates him. You have to have a person who pushes the button. Without consciousness, artificial intelligence is nowhere. And computer technology is nowhere. As Prabhupada, sorry to get into all this, but a very famous event is Prabhupada's being invited to MIT, which was, during the time he was present, super renowned for its investing billions of dollars and so much time and energy of brilliant people in artificial intelligence. Big. So Prabhupada's opening question is, where's that branch of knowledge in MIT that says the difference between a living entity that's alive and one that's not alive? What's the difference between life and death? Artificial intelligence. Because without life, artificial intelligence is dead matter. You have a robot without a person animating the robot. Dead matter. What's the difference? Where is that institution in all of this big place? And he would say the same thing. I happen to know because I joined the Boston Temple and heard that celebrated story. But he would challenge it in other places, same thing. We are the only institution that is teaching the difference. No, there may be others that are notionally teaching the difference. But on this descending knowledge coming from the Vedas, just as Brahma received, he's giving the resource to others. It's stated right in the conclusion of this chapter. The first Manu, Swayambhuva Manu, another one of the 12 Mahajans, directly from the body of Brahma. Any discussion? It's a challenge a little bit to make kind of this technical stuff interesting. But it is interesting. Yeah.
I have a question about Lord Brahma.
About?
Lord Brahma.
Okay.
I'm assuming he's the same Lord Brahma that stole the cows of Krishna. That's the Lord Brahma of our universe. And I'm wondering if that's the same Brahma of our universe that had the boon to take birth as Haridas Thakur. And if Haridas Thakur is his kind of Vrajasarup, because is he Brahma that stole the cows in Krishna Leela, or does he have a different relationship with Krishna? Or I'm trying to understand that.
Well, it's easy to say something, but the honest answer is, I don't know. Because from Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Navadvip Dham Mahatmya, the indication is, yes. But is it the Brahma of this universe? It's the Brahma that stole the calves and cowherd boys. That one. But is it this universe? Because when it gets into questions like that, there can be all kinds of possibilities. And I could, intuitively, logically, reasonably, yes. I don't know. Probably. A little stronger. Likely. But these things get really diverse. So I can just be giving an honest answer. Yeah. If it's easy to say yeah. But the real answer is I don't know.
Thank you.
The Brahma of our universe, let's go a little step further. The Brahma of our universe is the same Brahma that's spoken, because Prabhupada speaks like this. That's Brahma Samhita, Lord Brahma. And that Brahma Samhita, Lord Brahma, has a relationship with Krishna as the eternal maidservant. Yeah, it's right in Brahma Samhita. Just the verse just before the prayers begin. Eternal maidservant. He got an inclination, not the detail, eternal maidservant. That's the Brahma of our universe. Is it the same Brahma of our universe that became Haridas Thakur? Likely. But then the Brahma that's spoken of in Canto 2, Srimad Bhagavatam, is a different Brahma because his relationship is friendship. When he had this vision of Lord Vishnu stood and extended his hand. Howdy, brother. Let's go. Glad to see you. It's been a long time. Friendship. Different rasas, different Brahmas, different universes. And how do we know any of these things except for authoritative sources?
That makes sense. Thank you.
It's best to be careful rather than, yeah, same room. Yes?
Thank you, Maharaj, for discussing the intricacies of artificial intelligence. I had a conversation 2 years ago, maybe, with somebody at U of M who was really into this, one of the main professors there in their department.
A professor of AI.
Yeah. And I shared with him a concern that I have, that the modern definition of what is intelligence among the social body is declining, and the capacity of the robots is increasing, and so there'll become a harmonizing point, and that will be when they declare that artificial intelligence has matched ours. But it will really be because our definition of actual intelligence has degraded as Kali Yuga continues. So there was something that he chewed on a little bit, and what I was thinking during your discussion was, how can we maintain a definition of intelligence that is beyond the capacity of a robot?
Well, to know who you are. Does a robot know who he is? We don't have, we've lost, the capacity to know who we are has weakened.
Yes.
It's not foreign to the soul in the human form of life, it's the intention. Knowledge doesn't just mean information, because artificial intelligence has a lot to do with information processing, which is really the mind, not intelligence. Information processing is the mind, not the intelligence. But the intelligence has become degraded to that. And the information processing cannot process to understand who you are. At best, it can understand who you're not. At best. That's impersonal. Definition by negation. Who are you? Real intelligence is to know who you are. And people are too busy to even ask the question. So it's material intelligence that's manipulating information technology. Anyone else? Yes.
Maharaj, like in the beginning you said that I'm just trying to get like practical, application of like knowing the creation.
Knowing the creation.
Yeah. So like in the beginning you said like it's to revive our original consciousness, our original consciousness. That's like.
That's the purpose of the Vedas.
Okay.
In general, including the topic of creation.
And then also we hear in Narada's past life, like he also went into forest and observed all these different living entities and all the natural. So like how we can apply just like this creation, looking at creation to improve our original consciousness.
How can we, is your question?
Yeah.
Well, it starts with an inquisitive spirit combined with hearing from Vedic sources in disciplic succession. That's how to. Otherwise we can just get, distracted. Really easy to get distracted. Seeing stuff in nature. But to connect that stuff we see in nature with the inquisitive spirit wanting to know what's the source of all this, and then hearing from the Vedas, Vedic wisdom that tells us what the source of everything is. So appreciating the variegatedness of species of life. One of the things that I, from time to time, they don't do this anymore, don't have time, but I would take a look at National Geographic magazine because they have all these like high-resolution images of species of life. You go, wow! Look at that one, especially aquatic life. Oh boy! How amazing is Krishna? What a sense of humor! And the male and female are attracted to each other so they can create more. And look at this one, look at that one, my goodness. What a sense of humor. So, if the I want to know light is on, and the connecting to the wisdom in disciplic succession of the Vedas, then it's beautiful. And then, in contrast, look at what modern intelligence is doing to that which is beautiful. Very sad. In the name of what? Enjoyment. Or expanding our knowledge. You know, killing rats and unconscionable things. Not respecting life. Totally non-Vedic, totally not for the purpose of elevation of consciousness. Slaughtering of animals because, taste. Thinking nothing about it. And anyway.
Then the other part of it is like, say like, human form of life can, develop this original consciousness. What's the purpose of like say lower species? Is it like say
Prison. Misuse of free will, prison. I just like adding to this, your question, some of you are aware that we held a retreat of some sorts for college students, and maybe 50% of the persons that attended knew nothing. It was just like a Facebook advertisement, and they wanted a break and go to a farm, and it sounded interesting, so they paid. They came. And several of the students, well, one of the activities was some service. And they were so absorbed in their services, like raking and milking and stuff. They wanted to skip the Sangha group thing of relationship building, because they were just like, you like this too much. And I don't know how many, but it was reported to me that several persons having direct contact with cows have vowed, I'm going to be vegetarian. Just from being with cows. Ooh. As opposed to something abstract. Every time I go by McDonald's or one of those places and see the line of cars, their intelligence is gone. They have no sensibility. And it's like, oops, 8:15. Well then, Srila Prabhupada.
Jai.
And we'll see you all tonight, right?
Yes.